Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another Friday night chill stream here at Calls. It has been a massacre for me this week. We'll get into that, but hopefully your week has went well in general, that you are doing well with the PGA Championship and are ready to dig into some round 3 showdown, some weekend golf. You can hear the second regular to the stream announcing her presence. So we'll get into it. Not sure how far or how long we're going to be going tonight with a couple of contests and whatnot with the PGA. I'm pretty tired, and my baseball season starts tomorrow. So I'm going to be trying to get some rest, as this old man is still going to try to play some baseball as I do every year. So, all right. First thing we'll take a look at. Let's just kind of review. These are the lineups that I submitted in the various contests over at DraftKings for DFS, and I did not survive. I have no 5 of 6s, let alone any 6 of 6s. My 2 big plays for the week, Abraham Ancer and Brendan Steele. Abraham Ancer, boy, I felt pretty good for his first 9 holes. He was about 1 or 2 under, felt really, really smart. And then the wheels came off for him. Brendan Steele was inside the cut line all day today, and then just collapsed at the back part or on the back 9 today to miss the cut. So you can see I had Ancer in 9 lineups, Steele in 11. That just killed the majority of all of these lineups. I have Scheffler twice, not nearly enough. You see the 2 lineups that I do have Scheffler. They are both 2 of 6s, so no help there. I only have Corey Connors once. I kind of shied away from Corey Connors late in the evening. More so went with Joaquin Niemann. Of course, that backfired heavily. So I do have a decent 4 of 6 Corey Connors. But I imagine I'm going to be close to shutout this week with very few 4 of 6s that are contending. No 5 of 6s, no 6 of 6s. So it's gonna be brutal. The one thing that I think I can hang my hat on, I was high on Keegan Bradley, and he has played well so far. I've mentioned a few fades: Sung Jae, Wyndham Clark, Ricky Fowler. I did manage to avoid that chalk and that blow up. Try to take some chances on some uniqueness. Abraham Ancer, Brendan Steele, Aaron Wise. Gary Woodland missing the cut certainly hurt. So things just haven't gone the way I thought they would for the most part. Of course, I was playing a dangerous game, fading Brooks. He's playing well. I was nowhere near Bryson. It is what it is. I'm just nowhere near Bryson. Don't have enough Scotty. So there's a look at the lineups that I unfortunately turned in this week. I might not get shut out, but it's going to be a pretty bad week for me. Next thing I want to do, let's go on over to Windfinder and start prepping for some showdown and some weekend golf contests. And feel free to jump in chat this evening. If you have any questions, we'll start making some lineups here after a little bit. But you'll see that there is some rain in the forecast overnight and into tomorrow. Now, how that's going to affect tee times and whatnot, I can't say. I don't know when this rain is supposed to start in Rochester. It's certainly going to be cooler than it was today. Today supposedly got up into the mid-70s. Tomorrow's high in Rochester All right, Oak Hill is in the mid 60s, and you can see there is it's cool, cold, damp. It looks like a miserable day if indeed they are playing golf tomorrow. And then Sunday looks to be a little bit better, although we still have a little bit of wind to contend with early in the morning. So there's a look at Wind Finder for the forecast for Oak Hill this weekend. Normally I like to go to ESPN and bring up portions of the course where we can find birdie streaks. Well, this is the PGA Championship. That's not happening. So we're not really going to be able to find much in the way of a stack, trying to find like the front nine or the back nine, and which nine you want to stack, because it's just all difficult. There are only 3 holes that are playing under par, under score relative to par. It is just not. It's not easy. It's just not easy. Having said that, now that I'm thinking about it, it would be beneficial, more than likely, to see if either of the turns are playing anywhere close to par, so we can go ahead and do that. I have my doubts. So you see 17 and 18 are 2 of the hardest holes on the course, so you're not really looking at making a birdie streak on 17, 18, 1, 2. 8, 9, 10, 11, 1300ths, and then 3/10 over par. Now 10 is one of the few holes that's playing under par, but really there are no stretches at the turns where it's going to matter. The easiest portion of the course has been in this range, but everybody is going to be able to play that range of holes in succession, no matter whether you're teeing off on 1 or on 10. So not a lot to do with course stuff in that regard. So let's go ahead and jump straight into what metrics I was able to gather. And I gathered the strokes gained very, very quickly before Fantasy National 999 them out. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to gather, say, let me bring it up over here, the in-tournament statistics. I wasn't able to gather things such as round to par, such as tee to green stats, driving distance and whatnot. I was just able to grab the actual strokes gained before they 999'd them out. So what I do have, and again, just a reminder that I deal with weekend golf salaries. So this is weekend golf salaries, not round 3. And the one player that didn't have any data for was Sam Stevens, since he was a late add to the field after one, I think maybe Paul Casey. He might have been Paul Casey's replacement. I can't remember, but no stats for him, so we're kind of just going to have to deal with that. But I've gathered the players' performance in difficult rounds to par, going back to the beginning of 2021, their performance in moderate and windy conditions, what their strokes gained are or have been this week. And one of the biggest things that I like to look at is how much they are under or overperforming their putting so far this week. And you can see somebody like Scotty Scheffler here, he's 20th in putting this week. However, he's generally pretty middle of the pack, 79th. John Rahm, normally 8th on bent putting since the beginning of 2021. This week he's been atrocious with the putter. So that is one of the big things that I like to look at in terms of metrics of the week, is how a player is performing relative to their norm in putting. Somebody like Corey Connors here, completely overperforming their putting, but the irons are still elite as they normally are. So let me freeze these rows here for you. Let's go through this price board a little bit, see if we can't find some players that might jump off the page to us here. The first one that kind of stands out is Rory. Rory still sitting in the top 10 right now, but we know he's a much better off the tee player than what he has shown. His irons are very, very good this week, so they are in form. And he has overperformed his bent grass putting by a lot, or underperformed it, I mean. You see, he's usually 10th in this field, or excuse me, 7th. He's in the top 50. Rory is somebody who looks like should, by all intents and purposes, improve over the weekend. We know his prowess when it's difficult. He plays well enough in the wind. Rory is somebody who jumps off the page immediately to me as somebody that you would want to target, especially for weekend golf, especially since you still have the buffer of being in 10th. Somebody else is Victor, and he's leading the tournament right now. He's the number 1 iron player so far this week. He's generally not the number 1 iron player, but he is an elite ball striker. And he's not terribly overperforming his putting. Now, the around the green is where he really, really struggles. And he's been pretty good this week. So if that keeps up, by all intents and purposes, sorry, let me, I got too many things going on here. The second regular to the stream saying hi, trying to build or bring up Fantasy National. Here's a look at the in-tournament stats page. Let's take a look at some tee to green. You see, not going to be able to gather too much here since they have 999 of them out for everybody who missed the cut. But let's take a look at Victor Hovland. And Victor Hovland has been 6th in scrambling, but he's only 7 of 10. That's telling you how difficult it is to scramble here at Oak Hill. So it's really not necessarily overperforming per se. You've got Scheffler, who's 11 for 13. He's sitting in 2nd. The leading scrambler, Justin Suh, 12 for 13. Sitting in 4th. So even though Hovland is generally not an around the green type player, I don't see anything here that suggests that he should fall off a cliff. He's not perfect in scrambling. If he was perfect in scrambling, it would be much more worrying to me. We look. Victor has gained the 2nd most birdies. He's gained the 4th best he's been 4th best in bogey avoidance. Everything I am seeing here seems like Victor Hovland should be pretty darn good for the weekend. These live players are going to be pretty difficult for me, especially since I don't have current live stats. I don't gather those. So make what you will of players like Brooks, of Cam Smith, Bryson, DJ, as their numbers are going to be flawed, I think, for what I have gathered. The only thing I'm going to be able to really do with the live guys is generally how they were when it was difficult and in the wind. Let's see, somebody like Patrick Cantlay stands out as well. Probably not as much. He's generally the number one putter on bent. That was one of the big reasons why I favored him over his buddy Xander. The irons have been there. Around the green's fine. The off tee's fine. Like Patrick Cantlay should also be a lot better over the weekend. It's a good story to see Jordan Spieth make the cut with his wrist injury. He's a much better around the green player, and he's a much better putter. Don't think he's quite this level of ball striker, though. Let's see. Morikawa has been fantastic with the putter. This could be a decent putting week. I'm actually not going to put it in full-on orange or anything like that. It's just going to be a slight caution. Because one of the biggest reasons why I was high on Morikawa this week is bent is his preferred surface. It's his best surface. Now, I wouldn't expect him to continue to overperform by this, but he's also a much better iron player than this. He's generally much better off the tee. If I go to his fairways gained, Morikawa is only 11th, 15 for 28. So decent, but nothing astronomical. In fact, I actually might change this to a slight green. Tony Finau, much better ball striker than what he has shown, and he's underperformed his putting metrics. I don't hate Tony Finau right now. I'm not necessarily as high on Jon Rahm for the weekend because the putter can go ice cold, even though he is generally a better bent grass putter. The putter can go ice cold, and his irons aren't there. He hasn't been great off the tee, which is his thing. He's actually 31st in distance. It's surprising to see, but he's 31st in distance. So, I just don't think this is Jon Rahm's week. I am pretty cautious on Scheffler, but it is Scotty Scheffler. He is one of the best players in the world. He defies the odds a lot of times. You'd have to think the putter comes back a little bit. A little cautious on Xander as well. But I'm not going to highlight him just yet. Again, do what you think with these live guys. Not too sure on them. Spieth, again, the wrist injury, he says, he's made the cut. So I'm not sure about that. Homa, he's better than this. Oof, I don't know. I wasn't all that crazy about Homa, even though he rated out something in the top 20s for me. I wasn't all that crazy about Homa, and this is why his game can disappear for a bit, and it seems like it has disappeared a little bit this week. This looks like he's been doing it all in scrambling. So in fact, if we take a look at some of the top scramblers, actually he's not up there. Max Homa, he's only 10 for 19. So I'm curious as to why the off the tee number is so bad. Okay, so he's barely hitting any fairways. That'll do it. That'll do it. If he gets some more fairways, perhaps, but yeah, I don't know. Justin Rose. Let me find Rose on here. Yeah, he doesn't have nearly the distance, but he hasn't been finding a lot of fairways either. It looks like he's been doing it a little bit with smoke and mirrors, and in fact, he's 10 for 16 in scrambling, so doing it all in and around the green, I don't think that's sustainable for Justin Rose. For as much as Tommy Fleetwood has underperformed, I don't like what I'm seeing here. He needs to be much better with the irons. And while he has underperformed his putting, it's really not all that great. And he's not this kind of off the tee player. He's fifth in fairways. That's what is generating his high off the tee value. So I'm not there with Tommy Fleetwood. Again, kind of like Morikawa. One of the reasons why I liked Keegan is that Keegan is at his best on bent. And sure, he's overperformed it, but he's at his best on bent. If we take a look at scrambling, where's Keegan in scrambling? Like Corey Connors is 12th in scrambling. Hey, how you doing, Bruce? Sorry, chat is at a different place, so I just now saw it. Thoughts on Eric Cole, Minwoo, or Mito? I'm trying to work my way down there in those prices. How has your week-long PGA gone? Mine has been it's been a disaster. I don't even have any 5 of 6s, let alone 6 of 6s. But thanks for jumping in the chat tonight, Bruce. Much appreciated. I was wrong on Minwoo Lee, that's for sure. For week-long. So, all right, Minwoo Lee. So the second regular stream is really not happy about something. I don't know what. All right, so Minwoo, Eric Cole, and Mito. Where's Mito? There he is. All right, so, okay. Well, you see, Minwoo Lee's been the number 1 putter this week, and he's generally not very good on bent. A lot of 5 of 6s, Fitz and Ricky killed. So the one thing, like I said, I have not been right about a whole lot. I was high on Answer, high on Brendan Steele. I was taking some chances, yes, trying to be unique. They obviously didn't come through. But what has saved me from just basically quitting this week or giving me any kind of hope is the fact that I full faded Ricky, I full faded Wyndham Clark. I only have Sungjae. I only had Sungjae once. I really focused on uniqueness, and the fact that there's been so much carnage gives me some hope that I can cash even with some 4 of 6s. It's a long shot. My guys will definitely have to play well, but I'm not out of it, I don't think, because I avoided a lot of the chalk that seemed to miss the cut, with the exception of Gary Woodland. Gary Woodland was basically the one player in the low 7s that I liked, other than like Mito and Seamus Power, and Power wasn't all that great. So glad to hear that you got some 5 of 6s. Fitz, yeah, I was surprised with Fitz missing the cut as well. I had some Fitz, a little bit, so I was surprised with that. Again, like Minwoo, I can't see it. He's been the number 1 putter this week. He's generally not a good putter on bent. The irons have been atrocious. He's always been an off the tee player. That was his draw, was the distance. I don't think this is sustainable for Minwoo Lee. 31st in scrambling. Again, 13th in distance. That's his thing. He hasn't hit many fairways at all. He's 59th. So I can't see it for Minwoo. Eric Cole and Mito. So one of the big things I liked for Mito was the fact that he had generally played difficult courses well when he was still on the PGA Tour. And this has been difficult. He's overperformed his putting, but it's not horrendous. I mean, he's actually not been all that great in scrambling. He's actually 9th in greens. So that's helping this strokes gained approach number. I kind of like Mito. After everything I've seen now, the putter can get a little bulky. I would be a little cautious with that, but I mean, between Minwoo and Mito, it's not even close, in my opinion. Now, Eric Cole, he's always been a good around the green player. So, with it being so difficult and players having to scramble, that's really setting up well into in his advantage. He plays not the best in the wind, 61st. He's definitely going to have to be... He's going to have to hit more fairways. He's 50th or 49th in fairways. He's going to have to hit some more fairways. I'm lukewarm on it. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. I would... Of those three, I am taking Mito. And hoping that the putter stays with him this week. Like Justin Suh, he's even underperformed his putting, but this just doesn't seem sustainable because he's the number one scrambler, 12 out of 13 this week. He's gained a lot of fairways. If we look at his player page in Fantasy National, I'll try to give a side-by-side view here. Like, he's not really all that great on bent. Granted, it's a small sample size, but not really great on bent. And he's not good in moderate. He's okay in windy conditions, but he's terrible in moderate wind, which is what tomorrow looks like. And you see, he's never been all that great around the green. So this looks like a little bit of smoke and mirrors this week for Justin Suh. So I don't think I'm there with him. See some others in here. Like Connors. This is one of the reasons why I was so torn, as I mentioned Wednesday night. He's an elite level ball striker. He's an elite level iron player, but the putter is pretty bad. He's overperformed it. That's why he's sitting in first. Do what you want with Corey Connors. If you think, and that's why I'll put him in dead yellow, just if you think the irons are going to continue, then you should continue to play him. If you think the putter is going to cool off, then you should avoid him. Unfortunately, it's 50-50 on both of those. Shit, I typed the wrong person. Connors. Like, he's been really good scrambling, even though the around the green isn't there for him. Of course, he's top 10 in greens, which, is his thing. If we look at bogey avoidance this week, Connors tied for 4th. So, yeah. Great story in Michael Block, but there's no way I think he stays up there. But it's a great story. The way Cam Davis is playing this week, take a long look at Cam Davis, especially because he is a lot better putter on bent than what he's been the first 2 days. The off the tee's there, the approach is there. Cam Davis is somebody to really take a long look at, because that putter should be a lot better than what it's been, especially on bent. Ryan Fox, kind of interesting. We don't have any baseline bent for him because it's generally the Masters at where his bent is accrued, and of course we don't get strokes gained putting from the Masters. Okay, not terrible, I suppose. Let's take a look at Ryan Fox. Generally hasn't been great on bent in his career. Very good when it's very windy, and good when it's difficult. He's mainly an off the tee guy, and his off the tee's been really bad this week. So you would think that would kind of normalize. You would think Fox could be interesting. I'll put him in the lightest shade of green. Could be interesting, I suppose. Let's see. Let me work my way down here. The rest of this leaderboard, we try to make some lineups here, and then I do kind of want to take a quick look at the Charles Schwab next week before I sign off. But that won't be for a while because we still have lineups to make. Let's see. Anybody else around here? Like Højgaard. Okay. Not in love with it. Hoagie, again, elite level ball striker. The irons haven't been there. He's actually been doing it around the green, which doesn't make a lot of sense. This just doesn't feel sustainable for Hoagie either, because that was my big worry, was that for as much as he's an elite level ball striker, his off the tee game, he's not very long and he's not very accurate. And you have to be. So he's been doing a little smoke and mirrors, I think. Let me check Tom Hoagie. He's got a lot of sand saves. He's right at 50%, or basically 50% for scrambling. His driving distance is one of the lowest of the players that made the cut. He hasn't hit many fairways. Yeah, this just seems all smoke and mirrors for Hoagie. McCarthy, if the irons are indeed that hot, McCarthy could be interesting because that putter is lethal. I don't know how to feel about it. Mark Hubbard, not really, even though he's severely over or underperformed his putter. No real interest there. Jaeger, somebody that could be interesting. He was a late addition due to all of the withdrawals. You see the irons. I mean, he's hot. He's in great form coming in. Bring up his player page. He's been in great form. Bent is by far his preferred surface. He's just not a good putter, but bent is his preferred surface. Now, he is bad in the wind, so if the wind really does pick up a lot tomorrow, you could be in some trouble. It's also generally not the best when it's difficult. But I mean, you look at this form, 11th last week, top 30 at the Wells Fargo, which is a difficult tournament, difficult course. Played a little bit easier than usual, but still difficult, long. I mean, from the Genesis forward, he's only missed one cut, has 3 top 20s. So, I mean, he's in great form. Jaeger's kind of interesting at 6,900 for weekend, or whatever his round 3 showdown price is. Not sure. Be kind of interesting. He would be more of a round 4, I would think. If he kind of stumbles, if he stumbles tomorrow, I would really be high on Jaeger for Sunday, because there's not supposed to be as much wind on Sunday. Tomorrow looks pretty bad. So Jaeger would be more of a round 4 play, I think. He's probably a worthy speculation in weekend, but much more of a round 4. Sepp Straka. Holy smokes. He's second in irons. He's the number 1 player in greens in regulation this week, which is allowing him to use that putter, which is a good weapon, and he's underperformed it. Sepp Straka, if indeed this continues, Sepp Straka is somebody that you should probably take a look at, because he is a good putter regardless of the surface. Now, he prefers POA, but I mean, he's still positive on bent. He plays very well in the wind. Again, he's not best in when it's difficult, but the irons look like they're hot this week. And you see, he has spike performances. The Honda, Valero. This could be one of those weeks. And you'd have to think that the putter is going to be a little bit better. So I don't hate Sepp Straka after looking at that. Neesmith, always interesting because of the ball striking, but he is just not a good putter. So I'm always concerned with Neesmith. Again, I don't know if you were here when I was going through my short little, I guess, rant on live guys, but since I don't collect live data, I really don't have much in terms of what I would do with live guys, so just use them how you see fit, because I won't be able to add any value there. Trying to find anybody else down here. Kirk could be perhaps interesting, maybe, because he's generally pretty good in the wind, pretty good when it's difficult. Chris Kirk could be something to look at. All right, so if that's the case, I like so many guys up here near the top. It looks like I'm still gravitating towards a stars and scrubs type look for weekend. So if I go something like Sepp Straka, Stefan Jaeger, do a double 6. You know, that allows me to go Rory, who I think is going to improve over the weekend. He's a much better off the tee player than this, and you see, even though he's been mediocre with the putter in this this week, he's actually one of the better bent putters. So I'll take my chances with Rory. Cantley, he is the number 1 bent grass putter. I think he would have to play better. I'm still pretty high on Victor. If the around the green continues to cooperate, which, I mean, he hasn't even been, it's not like he's first. He's just been good. He is 6th in scrambling, but he's 7 of 10. It's not like he's 100%. So I really like Victor. We'll throw Mito in and make this a real pure stars and scrubs. 9,000 is Spieth, if you like Spieth. DJ, his ball striking is generally better. He's not as good of a putter. Me personally, I like Cameron Davis, so that's where I would go with Meat instead of Mito. I would go Cam Davis. Let's see, at 9,000, Spieth. Again, if you're on the live guys, like Bryson would be the fit there, leaving 400 on the table. I don't like what I've seen from Hideki this week, especially since he's overperforming with the putter. Adam Scott might be interesting-ish. So there's a look. Since you mentioned Mito, Bruce, that would be like a Stars and Scrubs type build with Mito. The way I would build that, I would go Cam Davis, and then, ugh, yuck, oof. I don't know. There's not a lot in the 8s that I like. DJ's a little expensive. Not really all that crazy about Rose or Tommy. I don't know. Let's see if we can't find something else. If you don't want to go into the 6Ks, maybe you go Mito and Cam Davis. Ryan Fox, I don't think it would be too bad. See if we can't fit maybe one more, like maybe a Keegan, and see if we can't get a couple of 9s in here. Oh yeah. So do something like this where you go, let's say, I think Scotty would be too expensive, yeah. So maybe, I mean, we used Rory last time. Maybe you go John Rahm, 89. Damn it. No, it looks like it's going to have to be like Rory, and 94 is Patrick Cantlay. So if you didn't want to go into the 6Ks, I'll put that, kind of on the same level with that team. Instead of coming into the 6Ks, you can bottom out in the lows, in the 7s, and do a Rory Cantlay. Not a whole lot in here, though, to be honest with you. Chris Kirk, like I said, could be interesting. Sam Stevens is a complete wild card because we don't have his stats since he was a late ad. So Sam Stevens could be worthwhile. I can bring his player page up because he's been very very good form lately. So I'm gonna have to bring up another instance of Fantasy National. Damn it. Is he in the Charles Schwab next week? That would make it easier. He is. Perfect. Okay. Sam Stevens. Good in the wind. Mediocre at bent. Generally not good when it's difficult, but he's been playing well this week. Not a, he's a ball striker, which is what I would have favored. Thoughts on Tagala? Yeah, it's like I was saying on Wednesday night. Like, Tagala just seems like he finds a way to get it done, and nothing statistically stands out with him. So I'll put Sam Stevens in a light shade of green. I like the ball striking. He's generally not a good putter. All right. Sahith. Where is he? 74. All right. Let's find out what he has done this week. What the hell? Give me a second. Fantasy National did something crazy. There we go. All right. Sahith. All right, so he's gained a bunch of distance this week. Not really scrambled all that well. if we look at Tagala a little closer, generally a good putter. So, what's he done compared? Yeah, I mean, he's been really bad with the putter. Okay. He's been very good around the green, but that's, I mean, okay, he can... I didn't realize he's been in this much of great form. Good God. That's the concern, at least for tomorrow, because he's generally not played well in the wind. Yeah. Don't hate it. He's definitely going to have to find more. I would think he would have to find more fairways. He is hitting 1 out of every 4 fairways. He's 25%. I just don't see how that can continue. But you see the approach, 13th. He's actually 35th in greens. Okay. Might be onto something there. I'm not in love with it, but I'm certainly, more in favor of it than against it, especially considering a lot of other players around here that I just don't like. So if you were to build a solid base of low 7 guys, Mito, Sahith, I would consider Jaeger as part of this. I mean, he's 6,900, but I would still consider him a part of this, low 7 base. Yeah. Eric Cole could be interesting as well, I suppose. I mean, this is going to show that it's going to be way underpriced, but these, of all the players in the low 7s, be Jaeger and then Cole, and Mito, and Sahith. I mean, this is just essentially a carbon copy of this lineup, and then you can fill out the top however you wish. If we try to build a balanced lineup, it's going to be pretty difficult because there's just not a lot in the 8s that I like. I mean, again, DJ, however you feel, Bryson. Hatton, I mean, he's a grinder. He had to birdie the last hole to make the cut. But there's a reason why I was fading him. Like, I just had my concerns. And he has not played well. Adam Scott could be perhaps a little interesting, maybe. We take a look at Adam Scott. 3rd in distance this week. Okay. Hitting a lot of greens as well. He's been basically right at his career norm for putting. Scott could be something, perhaps. Really, it's kind of Adam Scott and Keegan. That's about it in this area of the price board. And then coming on down to like Fox, Davis, and then so on. For round 3 specific showdown, because I focus on weekend, but for round 3 specific showdown, I would be much less inclined to use Jaeger. He's around 4. Essentially, focus on your guys that are good in the wind for your round 3 showdown because of the forecast tomorrow. So Mito should be okay tomorrow, I would think. Finau should be good tomorrow, I would think. Like Jaeger, Straka even, probably not the best. Chris Kirk could be interesting if you're really needing some price savings. for your round 3 specific showdown. Let's see if I can't find a lineup here where I am not hovering at Rory and Cantley. Is there a way? I'm not that crazy about Scotty Scheffler, but he always proves me wrong. Is there a way we can do a Scotty Scheffler and another 9? I don't know if you'd be able to use another 9. But you could absolutely do something like Scotty, Adam Scott, Keegan, I don't mind. Yeah. So Keegan, Cameron Davis, Sahith, Mito. I mean, that's leaving 900 on the table, so you can move that around how you see fit in other ways. Maybe you go up from Adam Scott to a DJ. Maybe you like Bryson, but that could be another interesting idea if you want to make sure you have Scheffler. I just think Rory's going to play much better than what he has shown the first 2 days, and he's still in 10th. Any other quick questions about specific showdown? Bruce or anyone else in chat before I take a quick look at the Charles Schwab and then call it an evening? Also did a little bit of baseball today. You can see the madness on baseball and projections and lineups and getting really into it. I can cover that if there's any interest, even though the slate has already started. But if there's nothing more on round 3, round 4, or weekend, I'm going to take a quick look at the Charles Schwab. But I don't hate your thought process there, Bruce, at all on Tagala after looking at it. All right. Let's bring up the Charles Schwab very, very quickly. Of course, if you're catching the stream late, feel free to ask any questions. I'll be more than happy to jump back over to Showdown if there's a question. But let's take a look at the Charles Schwab very, very quickly. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm here for. I love looking into the stats, trying to win a little money. Granted, the PGA Championship has been, I can't say a disaster, but it's been brutal. But more than happy to help. All right. So with the Charles Schwab, let's narrow this in a little bit and figure out who all's here. Oh, and that's Bent as well. I've got Bent clicked. All right. So since the beginning of this calendar year, again, I'm not going to do not a whole lot. That's what the initial research show will be for. But some big players are at least in the field right now for the Charles Schwab. At Colonial, Scotty Scheffler, Finau, Homa, Sungjae, Ricky, Jordan Spieth, Chris Kirk, Justin Rose, Colin Morikawa. So Victor Hovland, saw him out of the corner of my eye. Big field for the Charles Schwab next week. Now, I imagine, depending on how the weekend shakes out, some of these players might withdraw. But if you are inclined to look at Colonial over the weekend a little bit, one of the big things that I would recommend to you is that we're going to be on bent greens again. So you'd want to look at bent greens. And it's a fairly shorter course. You got a lot of par 4s from 400 to 450. And three of your par 3s are from 175 to 2. But it generally does play around average, maybe a little bit more, or a little bit more on the difficult end. And again, we'll do a really, gosh dang it, that is not what I wanted. We'll do a bigger, look at this on Sunday for the initial research show. But we're looking at bent greens. Not a long course. And it's played more difficult the past couple of years. Didn't used to play always difficult. So there's a quick look at the Charles Schwab. Again, a big name field next week for the Charles Schwab. Looking forward to it. Bruce, thanks for jumping in chat. Much appreciated. Hopefully your weekend goes well. Let me know how it goes for your round 3, round 4 weekend lineups. Would love to be able to shout you out if you are a winner this weekend. And thanks to everyone else out there who tunes in, watches, listens, supports the channel. Always appreciated. Hopefully your PGA Championship is going well. You survived. You have a few 5 of 6s that are in contention. You had some outright wagers that are still alive. Scotty Scheffler, Keegan. My Morikawa is still alive. He's got some work to do, but he's still alive. So I haven't given up quite yet on that. And I have a Nikolai Højgaard top 20 that I put in early in the week before I made my mixed condition model and kind of jumped off of him. So that's still alive. But thanks again for tuning in. Always appreciated. For all of your showdown and weekend golf contests this weekend and every weekend, may all your bets be profitable. See you Sunday night.